We begin this broadcast with some breaking news coming in from the United Kingdom. The UK Supreme Court has given a unanimous decision to the government's flagship Rwanda policy. And the court now concludes that the Rwanda policy is unlawful. Remember, this is a big blow to UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and the ruling Conservative Party. Judge Reid, while reading the judgment, said there are changes to the policy. However, he did not give any details about them. The Supreme Court further said the Court of Appeal was right. The UNHCR also raised concerns about how the Rwandan judicial system operates. The court acknowledged that Rwanda has 100% rejection of asylum claims from countries like Syria and Afghanistan. For all our viewers joining in at this hour, some big breaking news coming in from United Kingdom. It's a story that we have been tracking since morning. The Supreme Court in the UK has ruled against the government's decision to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. The court clearly said, this is UK's top court clearly saying that the plan is unlawful. This is a concern that has been raised time and again by human rights bodies across the world. Let me tell you a little bit more about this plan, the Rwanda plan. It is designed to deter people crossing in small boats across the English Channel. Once in Rwanda, people could claim asylum there, return home or seek asylum in a third country, but not the United Kingdom. Since the plan was announced, it has been challenged by the High Court. The High Court had ruled it lawful before the Court of Appeal overturned the decision, and now UK Supreme Court, the top court, has said that it is unlawful. Now, this is a big blow to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government, to the Conservative Party, who have taken migration as a top priority, illegal immigrants and their deportation as a top priority in their mandate. The Supreme Court in the UK has now confirmed the Court of Appeal's decision, saying that the plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda is unlawful. Now, to understand what this means for Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the UK, we are now being joined by Nicholas Nugent, a senior journalist and former BBC editor. Thanks so much for joining us at this hour. My first question, is this a surprising decision at this point?
No, I don't think so. I think it was beginning to be predicted over the last few days. It is, of course, endorsing the decision of the lower court, the Court of Appeal, that rejected or ruled as illegal the government's plans earlier, I think last year. So that's why it's not so much of a surprise, but it is, of course, a big setback for the government.
Right. This was regarded as a crucial day for UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, especially after the controversy wielded by the sacked Home Secretary Suella Braverman. In her scathing letter, she has accused the Prime Minister of betraying the country, and all of her remarks are centred around this Rwanda plan. So how do you view her statements after this decision by UK Supreme Court?
Well, yes, we've had quite a dramatic week, haven't we? We had a cabinet reshuffle on Monday. We had Suella Braverman's vindictive letter to the Prime Minister yesterday. Really, I'm just analysing it now. It is quite incredible, the things she says. And then today we have the Supreme Court rejection of one of the government's key plans. I think there are two sort of knock-ons now that we need to look at. One is what happens about the Rwanda policy. And two is the state of the Conservative Party, where we become aware that there's a big split now between Rishi Sunak's team and what you might call the Braverman sector, the right wing, with her having quite a lot of support within Parliament, though the consensus here is not enough to win a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister. You'd need 53 members of Parliament to be backing the Braverman line there. And the consensus is that she hasn't got that. So it perhaps is too early for her to make her bid. Now, that faction believe that the next step the government should take is to either withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights or amend Britain's acceptance of it. That's important because if that would happen, the Rwanda policy could go ahead. But the suspicion is the Prime Minister will not want to do that. Indeed, that's become clear from Suella Braverman's letter to him that he was unwilling to withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights, in which case he has the problem of finding another way to combat illegal arrivals. I hope I haven't made that too complicated, but those are the two strands we're looking at. What will the government do to combat small boat arrivals? And to what extent will the Conservative Party split at this juncture?
How do you view what's happening in UK politics? As you rightly pointed out, it's been a rather turbulent week in UK politics. The cabinet reshuffle, David Cameron coming back to the front line, Suella Braverman's sacking. In fact, when she was sacked, there was a lot of conjecture about what's next for Braverman. And a lot of people had said that this is not the end of her political career. And now she's written this letter, scathing letter, basically calling for a Tory rebellion.
Exactly. I personally think that it's too early for her to lead a rebellion because she doesn't have the support in Parliament. That's what matters at this stage. The numbers of Conservative Party members who would support her. And as I said, I don't think she has enough. Now, if she keeps her powder dry and waits till the Conservatives lose the next election, that's the expectation, that they will lose to the opposition Labour Party, then she might be in a good position to be a candidate to take over from Rishi Sunak as leader of the Conservative Party in opposition. It doesn't give her much power in the country, of course, if they're in opposition, but it gives her power within the party. So I don't think she's finished by any means. But the next question, as I'm implying, is, does she lead her rebellion now over the small boats policy, the Rwanda policy, or does she keep her powder dry and wait till after the next election? Because it's widely believed the Conservatives are on course to lose the next election, which has to happen within about a year, a little over a year. That's what we're waiting to see. But on the other hand, the other thing we're all waiting to see is what Rishi Sunak does about the Rwanda policy, because he has pledged to cut the arrival of small boats by the end of this year. And part of that strategy was the Rwanda policy. Again, it all seems quite complex, doesn't it? But party politics and national politics, especially about the boat people, are closely related at this stage.
It's very interesting you said that, and you rightly pointed out that this was, in fact, one of his key pledges to stop the boats. What's going to happen to Rishi Sunak now? Is he going to face a lot of criticism?
Well, I might point out that another of his key pledges has been met, and that's another bit of news this morning, and that is to halve inflation by the end of the year. He's halved inflation by now. So he's not entirely on a downer. Of course, we wait to see whether his other pledges, 5 pledges, another one was to reduce the waiting list in the National Health Service. That's not going very well. But at least reducing inflation is going well. Again, I remind you that we are just over a year away from a general election. It might come early. And as things stand at the moment, the Conservatives have little or no chance of returning to power after that election. Hence, it seems like the wrong moment to launch a bid within the party against Rishi Sunak's leadership. I would think that the general public, remembering the array of prime ministers we've had over the past 10 years or so, are reasonably satisfied with Rishi Sunak's leadership, albeit he's made these pledges and he's not necessarily going to meet those pledges. But he is so much more responsible as a leader than his 2 immediate predecessors, for example. That's Liz Truss, brief incumbent, and Boris Johnson. So I think I'm reflecting broad public opinion when I say the public would rather have Rishi Sunak in charge than, for example, Suella Braverman.
Right, very well put. Thank you so much for all your analyses, and thanks for joining us at this hour on WION World is One.
Okay, you're welcome.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.